Science Jim.
Hey everybody, it's me, Science Jim, here with Will Hicks. Will Hicks is a bee guy. Believe it or not, he is a bee expert. He goes around here in North Carolina and checks out bees and beehives and all kinds of wacky stuff. So today we're going to spend a few minutes talking to Will about bees. So why? What? Why are people raising bees? What's the point of bees? And some of the folks are just hobbyists. Some are doing it more as a career. So what's going on? Why raise bees?
Well, there are a lot of reasons that people raise bees, right? Number one, a lot of people like to eat honey, right? There seems to be a big movement towards backyard agriculture, and beekeeping is perfect for that. Anyone can keep bees as long as your city or town ordinance allow it, and so it's a great thing to learn about basic insect biology and also about other aspects of agriculture, because as you know, bees play a critical part in agriculture. And in fact, we like to emphasize that the most important thing that honeybees do for us is to pollinate most of the crops that we eat. Someone figured out that out of the 3 meals that you eat today, one of them or 2 of them is going to be brought to you by the honeybee, simply because of their pollination.
Wow.
Right, so they're an extremely important little insect.
Now wait, how can 2 of my meals be brought to me by these teeny weeny little honeybees? I don't eat bees, and I don't eat honey sandwiches. How does that work?
Well, all right, good question. I guess would you eat strawberries or apricots or peaches or oranges or nectarines or squash or pumpkins? Most of those crops are going to be pollinated by.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Now, what if I eat a meat dinner? Is what the meat eats pollinated by bees?
I would like to say yes, but generally grass is not pollinated. That's a wind pollinated plant.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You could say alfalfa maybe if they're fed alfalfa. That's certainly bees could pollinate alfalfa plants.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, neat. Okay, so we need bees not just because honey is tasty in our tea and on our sandwiches, but really for everything. Much of our diet is assisted by bees.
Absolutely. That's the most important thing that they do.
And if there weren't bees, what else would beetles, wombats, what else would pollinate these different things?
Well, wombats are good pollinators. Maybe down under, they here they're kind of scarce. And
yeah,
so
it's hard to find a good wombat.
Bats and maybe bats pollinate, but bumblebees I think would do a lot of the pollination. Orchard bees are also big pollinators, but the problem is the scale, right? The scale that most of our food comes from is from vast fields of say blueberries. Right, and a small colony of bumblebees wouldn't be able to pollinate that whole thing. So it's going to be the foods that we're used to eating are going to be a lot more rare.
Oh wow!
And if they were to be extinct, I'm not sure that we would become extinct, but our diets would become very much narrower.
Right. And I guess food also would probably be more expensive because it would be harder to come by, less of it around.
Right.
Oh, that's very, very scary. So what is are we worried about the honeybees? Is this something that we're worried about them vanishing or getting in their little honeybee spaceship and shooting off to Mars? Or
they certainly could do that.
Yeah.
But
they have space technology.
Right. Well, you don't know, you never know, right?
The NASA bee, the NSA bee.
The greatest threat to the honeybee is it comes from a mite.
I think we got a picture of that.
Imported mite from Asia. There it is right there, the Varroa mite.
Yuck!
It's essentially the worst thing that's happened to honeybees since they've been kept by people. And they've been in North Carolina for about 20 years.
Okay.
And they're ubiquitous. Everybody that has bees also has Varroa mites. And most of the season, their population is going to be increasing inside of the colony. Right?
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to have managed colonies. That is for beekeepers of all ages or all walks of life to keep bees, because people can manage the Varroa mite, right? Through treatments and methods, the population is kept at a minimum, and so the colony can function. Most of your feral colonies that are out in the woods are not managed, and that's the reason that in a lot of areas the wild honeybee is extinct because of that mite. They are allowed to reproduce without being checked, and they cause a lot of problems and death.
So in this case, humans, A, aren't the problem, and B, may in fact be a helpful solution.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's not the way that usually works, is it?
Right.
That's kind of exciting, really.
That's an unusual situation.
There's another picture here of this wacky white blob with something red on it. This is the same kind of in the middle here. This is the Varroa mite?
Right, that is correct. As mites go, they are monsters. They're giant mites. So that's sort of an oxymoron.
Be like having a poodle on our back.
Right. That's right.
That'd be
that's
bad.
Right.
Miniature poodle, not standard, but you get the point.
And so what this is a drone pupa that's sort of a meal, I guess, for the Varroa mite. This mite is feeding on the bee's hemolymph, which is essentially its blood. And what it does is it damages the bee, and it injects viruses of many, many kinds of viruses, potentially, that cause deformities and death in the bee.
Wow.
Right? And so they're very, in some cases, there are many hundreds of mites inside of a single colony. And so you can imagine they cause a lot of trouble.
And you can get rid of these as a keeper can get rid of these by spraying or by...
They're different. There are about 6 or 7 legal methods to do that.
Okay.
Various chemicals, some synthetic, some more organic.
Okay.
And what they do is there's nothing known yet that will get rid of all of the mites. But what we're trying to do is reduce the population to a manageable level. Yeah. And as it builds back up, that treatment is required again.
Wow. Right. That's intense.
Yeah.
Now, you say folks should do bees in their own backyard, but aren't we afraid of, if I put bees in my backyard, my neighbors would be, like, what are you doing bringing bees? I'm going to get stung. If I get stung, I'm going to sue. Is that more of a fear than a reality? Don't we have to be worried about being stung?
Absolutely. It's much more of a fear than a reality.
Okay.
In fact, most of the times your neighbors get stung, it's not from a honeybee, but it's from a wasp or a hornet or a more aggressive stinging insect.
Really?
Generally not honeybees, unless they come to the colony on your property and bother it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So the honeybees won't go out and get people?
Generally not.
Okay.
It certainly could happen.
Yeah,
right? But generally, once they leave the colony and they're going to pollinate a flower or whatever, they've got that on their mind and not not stinging. If you step on one in the clover patch, then certainly you could get stung. But generally, it's almost no risk at all.
Well, then you're working with bees all the time. So when you're out there with the bees, you're always in the big, almost NASA-like spacesuit, right? And out there working so that you don't get...
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I guess the stereotypical beekeeper that you see is fully dressed with just like this, with a screen around his face and from head to toe and coveralls. That is necessary, I'd say almost never. Right?
Really?
Yes, right.
It's just a marketing gimmick.
Well, I wouldn't say that because beginners a lot of beginners are really nervous of being around 50,000 stinging insects, right?
And I could see that.
That seems perfectly valid.
Like a good idea.
Really valid.
Yeah.
And so to begin with, we recommend until that confidence increases in new beekeepers, we certainly do recommend to suit up to make yourself comfortable around the colony so that you can work those bees.
Okay.
Right? And then as the summer wears on, generally, that first spring, you see them, like you said, dressed up in gloves.
Yeah.
And NASA's,
Right, yeah.
But as the summer wears on and the temperature, the outside temperature increases, it gets really hot. And no one wants to dress up like that when it's super hot. And so maybe the gloves come off. Maybe then just a jacket and a veil. And then it's too hot for the jacket. Then it's just a veil, right? And then pretty soon, beekeepers understand that these are not hornets, and so you can go into a colony. You may get stung, but you're not. Almost certainly, you will not receive multiple stings.
Well, and you're in and out of colonies all the time. Other people's colonies. These bees don't know you.
Right.
You can't call them by name. Hey, Fred, calm down.
Right. That's right.
That's right. So, how often are you getting stung as you're investigating the bees for these mites and other things?
Well, remember, I spend most of my day inside honeybee colonies, so I'm stung on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But proportionally, again, when you're talking about thousands or hundreds of thousands of bees, 1 or 2 stings is proportionally very little.
Right.
So,
right.
if you have one or two or even 10 colonies in your backyard that you visit once or twice a month, the chances of you being stung are very little. If you treat your bees gently, right, it's a good idea not to bang on the colony or anything like that.
Seem that no heavy metal outside the colony
No,
doors. That would be bad.
Weed eaters, right? There are things you can do. Beekeepers use smoke. Smoke, it's said has an effect of calming, but I don't know about that. I think that smoke mostly just gets them out of your way, so you can work the hive however you need to without crushing them with your finger. And it also it's a good idea not to work your bees when it's really cold or when there's a thunderstorm coming. I have gotten stung under those circumstances.
Oh, interesting.
But these are things that the beekeeper can avoid and really reduce his or her chance of being stung. That's
super. All right. So, I mean, so is this something you would recommend? Doing some internet searches? Are there some good websites if people want to get their own hives going? Would you recommend anybody do it, or contact your local so-and-so, or if you want to do it, how would? I mean, it sounds kind of like a really neat idea. How would somebody get started with this?
Most of the beekeepers that I've ever dealt with love more than anything else, even maybe more than beekeeping, is to talk about beekeeping.
Okay.
Right? So if you can find, in North Carolina, we have very many county chapters that are full of talkative beekeepers.
Okay.
Right? I would recommend that anyone that wants to get started, jump in with both feet, talk to your extension officer in other states. Some states have a strong inspection service, some don't. Some have strong, beekeeper associations, and some don't. But all states have beekeepers, and so the first thing I would do is contact beekeepers if that's possible. Talk to as many people as you can, because there are a lot of different ways to keep bees, right? And a lot of them are correct, right? And so the more people that you can talk to, the better idea you'll have about what's going on in your colony and how to react to it, and how to react to it in a way that suits even a personal philosophy about organic or management techniques or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there are tremendous resources in North Carolina and other states also.
Okay. Yeah. And then is this something that could happen countrywide across the United States, or is there certain states where bees wouldn't be hanging out?
No. Even states where you wouldn't think there's a great nectar source, like Arizona. Arizona is a decent beekeeping state.
Okay.
For sure.
And it's not too cold up in Minnesota, Wisconsin,
Absolutely
upper Michigan.
Not.
Huh, fascinating. Well, fantastic. Well, Will, fantastic. Thanks so much for coming out and hanging with me this afternoon. It's really, really enjoyable. If you guys are interested in finding out more about bees and beekeeping, take a look at your local internet website and find local bee groups and check it out. I think I'm going to get my own hive started in my backyard fairly soon myself. This is awesome. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Science Gym Show. Remember, sciencegym.com or kirklick.com. I've got other free science shows there all the time. Several different freebies that you can watch, as well as internet online classes, books, videos, other stuff to learn physics, and other just really cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, never stop wondering. Have a fantastic day, afternoon, or evening, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye, folks.